Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going to tackle something I think we all think about, retirement.
Yeah.
You sent us this great resource,
hmm
Retirement Pitfalls, an avoidance guide,
Yeah,
which should help us make sure that those golden years are actually golden.
absolutely. Everyone dreams of retirement, but very few people plan for what happens when they get there.
Hmm.
And this guide really dives into 8 common pitfalls that can trip people up.
And the first one is relying on a single source of income,
Yeah.
like basically putting all your eggs in one basket. And I feel like we've all heard that before, like don't put all your eggs in one basket.
hmm
But this guide really drives home why that's so crucial for retirement.
Yeah. It's like building a house on a single pillar. You know, one strong gust of wind and the whole thing could topple over. So you might think that your pension or your Social Security will be enough. But what happens if inflation spikes or benefits get cut?
Right.
Suddenly that one pillar of support isn't so strong anymore.
And the guide uses this example of someone who was relying just on Social Security,
Yeah.
and then suddenly they're slammed with like rising living costs.
hmm
And it's like, oh, actually having a comfortable retirement really means you need to have multiple streams of income that you can count on.
Exactly. And the beauty of diversifying your income is that you can tap into sources that fit your lifestyle.
Hmm.
So think about maybe generating some rental income from a property or picking up a fun part-time gig
Yeah.
that, uses your skills, or even look into annuities to guarantee that income stream.
Annuities, no, that's something I need to brush up on.
Okay.
What are annuities?
So it's basically a contract with an insurance company where you pay a lump sum or make regular payments, and then they guarantee to pay you back a stream of income.
Okay,
It's kind of like creating your own personal pension.
got it.
So that can be a really great way to ensure a predictable income stream, especially as you get older.
Okay, so we've got our income diversified, but then there's taxes,
hmm
which you would think would be less of a worry in retirement. But as this guide points out, taxes don't just vanish when you retire, they just change form.
Right.
And one of the biggest pitfalls is not understanding how withdrawing from your retirement accounts can affect your tax bracket.
Yeah.
So I hadn't really thought about that before. Like
Yeah.
you'd be saving all this money in your 401k
hmm
for years, and then you start withdrawing it in retirement, and then bam, you're hit with this like big tax bill.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not even just about how much you withdraw. It's about the timing and the types of accounts you're pulling from.
Okay.
So the guide uses this really interesting example of 2 retirees,
Hmm.
one who takes a big lump sum from their 401k and they end up in like a much higher tax bracket, and the other spreads their withdrawals across different account types,
Okay.
some taxable and some tax-free, and they end up paying way less in taxes overall.
So basically, you need a withdrawal strategy.
Absolutely.
It can't just be like, oh, I'm going to take money out whenever I feel like it.
Exactly. You have to plan for it. And for couples, the guide even mentions this thing called income splitting,
Hmm.
which is a potential way to lower your overall tax liability.
I like that.
So the basic idea is, by strategically sharing income between spouses, you can potentially reduce the amount of taxes you owe as a couple.
So that's income splitting.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look into that one.
Yeah, definitely worth looking into.
Seems like a powerful tool for couples to have in their retirement arsenal.
Yeah, but keep in mind, tax laws are complex and they're always changing.
Yeah, they are.
So the guide also recommends that you consult with a tax advisor
Mm.
to make sure you're taking advantage of all the deductions and credits that are available to you.
It's a good idea. Okay, so taxes check.
Yeah.
Healthcare costs and retirement.
Mm.
This one always makes me a little nervous.
Yeah.
I mean, healthcare is expensive as it is,
absolutely.
but this guide really opened my eyes to just how much those costs can skyrocket once you're retired.
It's one of the biggest blind spots for people planning for retirement, and the guide lays out some pretty sobering statistics about rising healthcare costs, especially for things like medications,
Yep.
surgeries, and long-term care.
I was shocked to see that the average annual cost of long-term care in the U.S. is over $100,000.
Oh, yeah.
That could wipe out like most people's savings like that.
Absolutely. It's a stark reminder that you need to be prepared for the unexpected.
Hmm.
Health issues don't always follow a predictable timeline, and, those costs can really add up.
So what are some practical steps that you can take to kind of mitigate those healthcare costs?
Well, first and foremost, the guide recommends securing health insurance that's specifically designed for retirees.
Hmm.
So, traditional employer-sponsored plans might not offer the same coverage once you're not working anymore.
Right.
So you want to explore options like Medicare or private health insurance plans that are tailored to retirees.
And I imagine having a dedicated healthcare savings fund is important too.
Oh, absolutely. Think of it like an emergency fund specifically for healthcare expenses.
Okay.
So that could cover things like high deductibles and copays and just unexpected medical bills. So having that extra cushion can really provide peace of mind and prevent you from having to, dip into your retirement savings
Yeah.
to cover those costs.
Okay, so health insurance and a dedicated savings fund check.
Hmm.
But what about those big, scary long-term care costs? Is there anything you can do to protect yourself from those potentially devastating expenses?
Well, that's where long-term care insurance comes in. It's not cheap, I'll admit, but it can be a lifesaver if you ever need extended care in a nursing home or an assisted living facility.
Yeah.
So the guide really recommends you explore those options, especially if you have a family history of needing long-term care or you're just concerned about, the potential financial burden on your loved ones.
Long-term care insurance. Okay, so that's something to consider.
Yeah,
I'd rather be prepared than caught off guard.
absolutely.
Okay, so we've got income diversification, taxes, healthcare.
Right.
For three pretty big hurdles to overcome. What's next?
Okay, well, this one might seem a bit more mundane, but it's equally important failing to adapt your budget to your new retirement lifestyle.
Okay.
So you'd be surprised how many people just fall into the trap of sticking to the same budget they had while working, even though their spending patterns have completely changed.
I can see that you're so used to a certain income
Yeah.
and expense pattern that it's like, oh, this is just going to carry over into retirement.
Mhm.
But as the guide points out, like your needs and priorities shift once you're not working anymore.
Exactly. You might be traveling more, you might be spending more time on hobbies or even helping out family members financially.
Mm-hmm.
All those things can impact your budget, and if you're not accounting for those changes, you could find yourself overspending.
So how do you create a retirement budget that actually works?
Well, the guide emphasizes the importance of being realistic and flexible.
Okay.
It's not about drastically cutting back on everything you enjoy. It's just about being mindful of your spending and making sure that your budget actually aligns with your new lifestyle.
So conscious spending.
Exactly. The guide suggests a few practical steps. First of all, track your expenses regularly.
Oh, yeah.
It's really easy to lose track of where your money is going, especially when you're not receiving a regular paycheck.
Yep, that's true.
Having a clear picture of your spending habits can help you identify areas where you can adjust or make changes.
And the guys also mentioned something that I always forget about, which is inflation.
Mm-hmm.
That can really sneak up on you, especially over a long retirement.
Yeah, it's subtle, but it's a very significant factor.
Yeah.
Even a small percentage increase in prices year after year can really erode your purchasing power.
Yeah.
So the guide recommends building in an annual inflation adjustment to your budget just to be on the safe side.
That's a good tip. I always forget about inflation.
Yeah,
But in the long run, it can really make a difference.
absolutely. And lastly, the guide encourages you to differentiate between needs and wants. So, this can be tricky, especially when you're transitioning to a new phase of life.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a really essential part of creating a sustainable retirement budget.
So it's all about prioritizing like the essential expenses, but still allowing yourself some wiggle room
Exactly.
for the things that bring you joy and fulfillment.
Precisely. It's about finding that sweet spot,
Right.
between financial security and really enjoying your retirement years to the fullest.
Okay, so we've covered a lot so far: income diversification, taxes, healthcare costs, and adapting our budgets.
Yeah,
A lot to take in, but it's all so valuable.
it is.
What other pitfalls should we be aware of as we continue this deep dive into this retirement guide?
Well, the next pitfall is one that often flies under the radar, but can have a significant impact on your retirement savings, and that's overpaying for investment management.
Fees.
Yeah, fees.
I mean, I know there are fees associated with investing, but I never really thought of it as a major pitfall.
That's what's so insidious about them.
Mm-hmm.
They often seem like a small price to pay for professional investment advice, but the guide really pulls back the curtain on how much those fees can compound over time and actually erode your returns.
Give me an example, like how can fees hurt your retirement savings?
Okay, so the guide uses this really striking visual.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you have a $500,000 portfolio and you're paying a 2% annual fee for management.
Okay.
Sounds small, right?
Yeah, 2%, that's nothing.
But that's $10,000 a year.
Oh, what?
right off the top.
Yeah, I never really thought about it that way.
And here's the kicker. Over a 20-year period, that 2% fee can add up to a whopping $200,000 loss just to fees.
Oh my gosh.
It's like the silent drain on your retirement savings,
Wow.
slowly but surely chipping away at your hard-earned money.
That's scary.
It is.
So how do you avoid this fee trap?
Okay, so the guide offers a few practical tips.
Okay.
First and foremost, demand fee transparency from your financial advisors.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to ask tough questions
Yeah.
about how much you're paying in fees and what services those fees are actually covering.
It's your money. You have the right to know.
Exactly. And beyond transparency, the guide also encourages you to explore lower cost alternatives like index funds or robo-advisors.
Okay.
These options can offer diversification and professional management at a fraction of the cost of traditional financial advisors.
Okay, so index funds and robo-advisors. I've heard those terms, but I don't really know what they are.
Okay.
Could you give me the rundown?
Sure. So index funds are basically a type of mutual fund that tracks a specific market index, like the S&P 500.
Okay.
And so instead of trying to beat the market, which is what many actively managed funds aim to do, index funds, simply try to mirror the performance of the chosen index.
Mm-hmm.
This passive approach often leads to lower fees, and over the long term, it can actually outperform actively managed funds.
So sort of like riding the wave of the overall market rather than trying to predict which individual stocks will perform best.
Exactly. And because index funds don't require like a team of analysts constantly picking and choosing stocks, they tend to have much lower management fees.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What about robo-advisors? Are those like robots that are financial advisors?
Well, not exactly robots, but they do leverage technology to provide automated investment advice and portfolio management.
Okay.
So essentially, you answer a series of questions, about your financial goals, your risk tolerance, your time horizon, and then the robo-advisor uses algorithms to create a diversified portfolio of investments that's tailored to your needs.
So it's like a personalized investment plan, but it's like a computer program is creating it.
Precisely. And because robo-advisors rely heavily on automation, their fees are typically much lower than those charged by traditional human advisors.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a more hands-off approach to investing and you want to keep those fees low, index funds and robo-advisors are definitely worth exploring.
Absolutely. And no matter which investment strategy you choose, the guide emphasizes the importance of reviewing your investments annually and making sure you're getting the value that you're paying for. So don't just set it and forget it.
Yeah.
Your needs and goals might change over time, and so your investment strategy should evolve accordingly.
Okay, so we've added another layer to our retirement planning puzzle. Be mindful of those sneaky investment fees.
Yeah.
Explore lower cost alternatives.
What other pitfalls do we need to watch out for?
Well, this next pitfall is one that can trip up even the most financially savvy retirees, and that's making emotional decisions instead of financial ones. So retirement is a huge life transition, and it's natural to feel, a mix of excitement, apprehension, maybe even a little bit of fear.
Right.
But the guide cautions against letting those emotions cloud your financial judgment.
Yeah, I mean, when you're dealing with something as important as retirement, it's easy to let your emotions get the best of you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know if you're doing that? Like, what are some of the signs that maybe you're making decisions based on emotion and not logic? Okay, so the guide highlights a few common scenarios where emotions can really take the driver's seat.
Okay.
One classic example is the decision of when to claim Social Security or CPP benefits.
Right.
So you might be tempted to take that money as soon as you're eligible, especially if you're really excited to start retirement and you got visions of travel or leisure, dancing in your head.
I can definitely see that appeal.
Yeah.
Like, give me the money now so I can go have fun.
Yeah. But as the guy points out, delaying those benefits can actually lead to a much larger payout in the long run.
Right.
And the math is pretty compelling. For example, delaying your CPP benefits can actually increase your monthly payments by up to 42%.
That's huge.
That's a significant difference, especially when you consider that those payments are designed to last for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's a powerful incentive to be patient.
It is.
But I imagine it's hard to resist that immediate gratification,
It is.
especially when you're so eager to kick off your retirement. What's the advice?
Okay, well, first and foremost, the guide recommends that you consult with a financial advisor.
Mm-hmm.
So a neutral third party can help you crunch the numbers, weigh the pros and cons, and really make a decision that's aligned with your long-term financial goals and not just, your immediate desires.
It's like having a coach in your corner,
Yeah, exactly.
helping you stay focused on the bigger picture.
Exactly. And beyond professional advice, the guide also recommends that you utilize retirement calculators.
Oh, yeah.
So these handy tools allow you to input different scenarios and actually see the potential impact on your overall retirement income.
I love those calculators. They're like a crystal ball.
Yeah,
See
exactly.
what the future might hold.
So you can take those emotions out of the equation and really let the numbers guide you.
I like that.
And remember, even though financial considerations are paramount, it's also important to factor in your emotional preparedness for retirement.
Yeah.
So the guide emphasizes the importance of finding that balance. Between financial analysis and emotional well-being, you want to feel confident and secure in your decisions,
Yeah.
both financially and emotionally.
It's about finding that sweet spot where financial security and personal fulfillment intersect.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've learned to balance our emotions with logic and careful planning. What's next?
So speaking of financial security, the next pitfall we're going to delve into is all about assumptions.
Okay.
Specifically, assuming your investments will always perform the way you expect them to.
Ooh, assumptions.
Yeah, assumptions, those can be dangerous.
We all hope for the best when it comes to our investments, but as we know, the market can be a little unpredictable.
It can be very unpredictable.
So what are some of the risks associated with making assumptions about investment returns?
Well, the guide really emphasizes the reality of market fluctuations.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, the market will always go up, especially if you've experienced a period of strong returns. But history has shown us time and again that's simply not how it works. There will be ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
And those fluctuations can have a really significant impact on your retirement savings, especially in the early years.
Yeah, the guide introduces this term called sequence of returns risk,
Yes,
which sounds a little intimidating.
it can be.
What exactly is sequence of returns risk?
Okay, so sequence of returns risk refers to the danger of experiencing negative returns early in your retirement, right when you're starting to withdraw funds.
So you saved all this money, you're ready to retire, and then the market tanks,
Yeah,
and you're pulling money out at the same time.
exactly.
That could really derail your plans.
It could. So let's say you have a $1 million portfolio and you're planning to withdraw $40,000 a year for living expenses.
Yeah.
If the market drops 20% in that first year of retirement, your portfolio is suddenly down to $800,000, and then you take out another $40,000 for your living expenses. You can see how quickly those losses can start to compound.
Yeah, it's like you're selling low,
Yeah.
and that can really deplete your savings much faster than you anticipated.
Exactly. And the problem is you can't control when those market downturns will occur.
Right.
It's all about timing, and unfortunately, sometimes that timing can work against you.
So how do we mitigate this risk?
Okay, so the guide offers a few practical strategies.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, it recommends being conservative with your return projections.
Okay.
So don't base your retirement plan on those overly optimistic market performance scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to err on the side of caution and assume lower returns, especially in the early years of retirement.
So be realistic,
Yeah,
not overly optimistic.
exactly.
But even if you're conservative with your projections, isn't there still a chance that the market could just have a sudden drop?
Oh, absolutely. That's why the guide also emphasizes the importance of having a safety net.
Okay,
So remember that financial fire extinguisher analogy we talked about?
I do.
It's all about having a buffer zone of cash or low-risk investments that you can tap into if the market takes a dip.
So if the market goes down, you don't have to sell at a loss. You can just use that emergency fund.
Exactly. It gives you peace of mind and the flexibility to ride out those market fluctuations without having to panic and make rash decisions.
It's like a financial umbrella,
I love that analogy.
shielding you from the storm.
Yeah. And speaking of safety, the guide also emphasizes the importance of diversification.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about diversifying your income streams, but it's equally crucial to diversify your investments as well.
Okay.
So spreading your money across different asset classes, stocks, bonds, real estate commodities, even things like precious metals,
Wow.
can help you weather those market storms.
So if one's doing bad, the other one might be doing well.
Exactly. It's all about balance and not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Right. And rebalancing your portfolio is important too, right?
Absolutely. So as the market fluctuates, the value of your investments will change, and your asset allocation, that's the percentage of your portfolio in different asset classes, can get out of whack. Rebalancing essentially means selling some of your winners and buying more of your losers
Okay.
to bring your portfolio back to your target allocation.
So it's about maintaining that balance.
Exactly. Think of it like tending a garden. You need to prune back the overgrown plants and give the weaker ones some extra attention to make sure everything is growing harmoniously.
I like that.
So rebalancing helps you stay on track with your investment goals and your risk tolerance.
Okay, diversification, rebalancing noted.
Yeah.
What else?
Okay. Well, the final pitfall we're going to explore is one that a lot of people tend to avoid thinking about, and that's neglecting estate planning. It's understandable why this topic gets pushed to the back burner. It can feel overwhelming, maybe even a bit morbid.
Right.
But as the guide emphasizes, estate planning isn't just about death.
Right.
It's about protecting your loved ones and ensuring that your wishes are carried out.
Yeah, I think people shy away from it because it's not exactly the most cheerful thing to think about. Yeah. But it's a crucial part of planning for the future. So what could happen if you don't have an estate plan?
Okay, well, the guide highlights a few potential pitfalls that can arise from neglecting estate planning. First and foremost, your loved ones could face unnecessary taxes and legal complications if you haven't clearly outlined how you want your assets distributed after you pass away.
So if you were to die without a will, then your estate could be subject to like a really lengthy and costly probate process.
Yeah.
And your assets might not be distributed according to your wishes.
Exactly. And it's not just about the financial aspects. Without proper estate planning, your loved ones could also face disagreements and disputes over your assets, which can put a strain on relationships and create unnecessary conflict.
Yeah, that's the nightmare scenario.
It is.
So what are the essential elements of a good estate plan? What steps can people take to ensure their wishes are carried out?
Okay, well, the guide breaks it down into 3 key areas.
Okay.
Drafting a will, assigning power of attorney, and considering trusts.
Okay, let's start with the will. Why is a will so important?
Okay, so a will is basically a legal document that outlines how you want your assets distributed after you pass away. So it can specify things like who gets your house, your car, your savings, any other property you own. It can also designate guardians for minor children and outline your wishes for your funeral arrangements.
So it's like a roadmap for your estate.
Exactly. And remember, it's important to review and update your will regularly as your circumstances change. Things like marriage, divorce, new children, significant changes in your assets.
Life is unpredictable.
It is, and your will should reflect those changes.
Okay, so a will is a must-have for everyone.
Absolutely.
Regardless of their age or their net worth.
Absolutely.
What about power of attorney?
Okay, so power of attorney is another really crucial element of estate planning.
Okay.
It essentially allows you to designate someone you trust to make financial and legal decisions on your behalf if you become incapacitated, whether due to illness, injury, or cognitive decline.
Okay, so if you can't manage your own affairs, your power of attorney can step in and do that for you.
Exactly. It's all about ensuring continuity and peace of mind. Your power of attorney can handle things like paying your bills, managing your investments, making healthcare decisions, and even selling your property if necessary.
So it's a big responsibility.
It is a huge responsibility.
And it sounds like choosing the right person for that role is crucial.
It's absolutely crucial. You want to choose someone you trust implicitly, someone who understands your values and wishes, and someone who's willing and able to handle those responsibilities.
Okay, so will's power of attorney, what about trusts?
Okay, so trusts can be a little more complex, but they can offer some significant benefits, especially when it comes to minimizing taxes, protecting assets, and making sure those assets are distributed according to your wishes.
Okay.
So essentially, a trust is a legal entity that holds and manages assets for the benefit of designated beneficiaries.
So instead of like inheriting the assets directly, they kind of get the benefits from the assets through this trust.
Exactly, and there are different types of trusts that are designed for different purposes.
Okay.
So, for example, you might set up a revocable living trust to manage your assets while you're alive and then distribute them to your beneficiaries after your death. Or you might create an irrevocable trust to protect assets from creditors or to minimize estate taxes.
It sounds like trust can be a powerful tool, but they're also something that you need to carefully consider.
Absolutely. And the guide recommends that you consult with an estate planning attorney to determine if trusts are right for your situation and to make sure that everything is set up correctly.
That's good advice. Estate planning can feel overwhelming, but having a knowledgeable professional by your side can really make the process much smoother.
Absolutely. And remember, estate planning isn't a one-time task.
Right.
It's an ongoing process that should evolve as your life circumstances change. So, review and update your estate plan regularly to ensure it still reflects your wishes and protects your loved ones.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We
We've explored these 8 common retirement pitfalls and all these strategies to help you avoid them, from income diversification and tax planning to healthcare costs and estate planning. This guide is packed with valuable insights
Absolutely.
and practical advice that can really make a difference in your retirement planning journey.
Take care.
Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to highlight one thing that the guide mentioned that really resonated with me,
Okay.
which is the importance of enjoying your retirement.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about the money.
Right.
It's about living a fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
All this planning and preparation is ultimately about giving you the freedom to pursue your passions, to spend time with your loved ones, and create memories that will last a lifetime.
It is.
So while it's important to be financially savvy and avoid these pitfalls, don't forget to savor the journey.
Yeah.
Retirement is a time to celebrate all that you've accomplished and embrace the next chapter with enthusiasm and a sense of adventure.
Well said.
So what's one key takeaway that you'd want our listeners to walk away with today?
If I had to choose one, it would be take action.
Okay.
Don't let procrastination derail your retirement dreams. Start planning today, even if it's just small steps.
Small steps can lead to big results over time.
They can.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone.
Absolutely not. There are resources available to help you every step of the way.
Like financial advisors,
Yep.
retirement calculators, online resources, even just talking to friends and family who have already gone through this.
Yeah,
There's a wealth of information and support out there.
there is.
We'll be back soon to continue our deep dive into retirement pitfalls, an avoidance guide.
Okay.
Until then, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep living your best life.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We're in the thick of it now, dissecting these 8 retirement pitfalls. And I am loving how practical this guide is.
Me too. It's not just theory. It's actually packed with, actionable advice that you can use.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so before the break, we were talking about how emotions can really influence your financial decisions in retirement.
It's a big transition.
Yeah.
It's only natural, but the guide reminds us that, sometimes those gut feelings can lead us astray, especially when it comes to things like claiming Social Security benefits.
Right. It's so tempting to just be like, oh, give me that money as soon as I can get it.
Yeah.
But the guide makes such a compelling case for delaying, even if it feels counterintuitive.
What's fascinating is the impact that, those few extra years can have on your monthly income.
Right.
Remember how we talked about delaying CPP benefits, boosting those payments by up to 42%?
That's a game changer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a classic example of how short-term thinking can actually cost you in the long run. Think of it this way. You've worked hard your whole life. Why not maximize those benefits when you finally get to enjoy them?
That's so true. And the guide really emphasizes the importance of doing the math, right? Actually sitting down and crunching the numbers with a financial advisor or using those retirement calculators
Yes.
to see how different scenarios actually play out.
Absolutely. It's one thing to have a gut feeling.
Yeah.
It's another to see the cold, hard numbers, and that can really help you make a decision that's aligned with your long-term goals, not just your emotions in the moment.
Takes the guesswork out of the equation.
Exactly.
Okay, emotions check.
Yeah.
We're learning to balance those with logic and careful planning. What's next?
Okay, so this one is all about assumptions, specifically assuming your investments will always perform the way you expect them to.
Ooh, that's a slippery slope.
It is. It's easy to get caught up in those rosy market projections,
Yeah.
Especially if you've seen your portfolio grow steadily over the years.
If it's been going up, it's just going to keep going up.
Right. But what's really important to understand is that market volatility is a reality, and it can really impact your retirement income,
Yeah.
especially in those early years. Remember that concept of sequence of returns risk we talked about?
That's the one that really made me think.
Yeah.
Because if the market takes a hit early in your retirement when you're already withdrawing money, it can really deplete your savings fast.
It can. It's like trying to fill a leaky bucket you're putting money in, but it's also flowing out faster than you anticipated, and that can create a real challenge.
Okay, so how do we plug those leaks?
Okay, so the guide recommends a few things.
Okay.
First and foremost, it stresses the importance of being conservative with your return projections.
Mhm.
So don't base your retirement plan on those best case scenarios where the market just keeps climbing steadily upward.
Right.
It's much safer to factor in potential downturns, especially in those early years when you're most vulnerable.
So be realistic, not overly optimistic.
Exactly. But even with conservative projections, there's still a chance that you could get caught off guard
Right.
by a sudden market drop. And that's why the guide also emphasizes the importance of having a safety net.
Right. That financial fire extinguisher.
Exactly. It's all about having that buffer zone of cash or low-risk investments that you can tap into if the market takes a dip.
So instead of being forced to sell your investments at a loss when the market is down, you can just ride out the storm with that emergency fund.
Exactly. It gives you that peace of mind and the flexibility to ride out those market fluctuations without having to panic and make rash decisions.
It's like a financial umbrella shielding you from those downpours.
I love that analogy.
Okay. So conservative projections, a safety net. Those are definitely top of mind now.
Yes.
What other strategies does the guide recommend for navigating those unpredictable market waves?
Okay, well, we've talked about diversification in terms of your income streams, but it's equally crucial when it comes to your investments. Spreading your money across different asset classes, stocks, bonds, real estate, commodities, even things like precious metals,
Okay.
can help you weather those market storms.
So if one's doing bad, the other one might be doing well.
Exactly. It's all about balance and not putting all your eggs in one basket, so to speak.
Right. And I imagine that rebalancing your portfolio is also crucial for maintaining that balance.
Absolutely. So as the market fluctuates, the value of your investments will change, and your asset allocation, that's, the percentage of your portfolio in different asset classes, can drift away from your target.
Right.
So rebalancing is all about, periodically adjusting your portfolio to bring it back in line with your risk tolerance and your long-term goals.
It's like fine-tuning your investment engine, making sure all the parts are working together smoothly.
That's a great analogy, and it's an ongoing process.
Okay.
It's not a one-time fix.
Yeah.
You'll want to review and rebalance your portfolio regularly, especially as you get closer to retirement and during those early retirement years when that sequence of returns risk is highest.
Okay. Diversification, rebalancing check, it sounds like. Staying actively involved in your investments is really key to navigating those unpredictable market waves. What's next on our list of retirement pitfalls?
Okay, well, this final pitfall is one that many people put off thinking about. But it's just as important as all the others, and that's neglecting estate planning.
Yeah?
So it can be a tough topic to tackle. But as the guide emphasizes, it's about so much more than just death and dying. It's about protecting your loved ones, making sure that your wishes are carried out.
I can definitely see how people might shy away from estate planning.
Yeah.
It can feel overwhelming, maybe even a bit morbid, but you're right. It's about taking care of your loved ones and making sure that things are handled according to your wishes.
Exactly.
What are some of the risks associated with neglecting this crucial part of retirement planning?
So the guide highlights a few potential pitfalls.
Okay.
First and foremost, your heirs could end up paying more in taxes than necessary if you don't have a plan in place.
Okay.
Without proper estate planning, your assets could be subject to estate taxes that could have been minimized or even avoided with careful planning.
So it's not just about distributing your assets, it's also about minimizing the tax burden on your beneficiaries.
Exactly. And beyond the taxes, there's also, the potential for legal complications and family disputes if you haven't clearly outlined your wishes.
Yeah, the guide paints a pretty vivid picture of what can happen if you die without a will. Your estate could be tied up in probate court for years.
Yeah.
And your assets might not be distributed according to your wishes.
It can be a nightmare scenario, and it can be easily avoided.
Right.
With a little bit of planning.
Okay, so what are the essential elements of a good estate plan? What steps can people take?
So the guide breaks it down into 3 key areas.
Okay.
Drafting a will, assigning power of attorney, and considering trusts.
Okay, let's start with the will. What is a will and why is it so important?
Okay, so a will is a legal document that outlines how you want your assets distributed after you pass away. So it's like a roadmap for your estate, making sure your wishes are honored and your loved ones are taken care of.
Yeah.
You can specify who gets what, your house, your car, your savings, your prize stamp collection, anything and everything that you own.
And it takes the guesswork out of it for your family.
Exactly. And it also allows you to designate guardians for minor children, outline your wishes for your funeral arrangements. You can even make charitable donations.
Okay.
It's like having the final say even after you're gone.
Even after you're gone, wow, a will is so important.
And remember, it's important to review and update your will periodically as your circumstances change.
Right. Life is full of surprises.
It is. So it's good to have that flexibility.
Okay, so a will is a must-have.
Absolutely.
What about power of attorney?
Okay, so power of attorney is a legal document that allows you to designate someone you trust to make financial and legal decisions on your behalf if you become incapacitated, whether due to illness, injury, or cognitive decline.
So it's like having a backup driver for your life.
Exactly.
Someone who can take the wheel if you can't drive yourself.
Exactly. And it's not just about finances. Your power of attorney can also make healthcare decisions on your behalf,
Oh, wow.
ensuring your wishes are honored even if you're unable to communicate them yourself.
That is a huge responsibility.
It is. It's a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
So you want to choose that person very carefully.
Very carefully. Okay, so
Yeah.
we've got wills, we've got power of attorney. What about trusts?
Okay, so trusts can be a powerful tool for managing and distributing assets, especially when it comes to minimizing taxes, protecting assets from creditors, or ensuring that, those assets are used for specific purposes.
Okay.
Essentially, a trust is a legal entity that holds and manages assets for the benefit of designated beneficiaries.
So instead of inheriting the assets directly, they kind of receive the benefits from the assets through the trust.
Exactly. And there are different types of trusts designed for different purposes.
Okay.
For example, you might set up a revocable living trust to manage your assets while you're alive and then distribute them to your beneficiaries after your death. Or you might create an irrevocable trust to protect assets from creditors or to minimize estate taxes.
It sounds like trust can be a really valuable tool for estate planning,
They can be.
but they're also a little complex.
They can be a bit complex. So the guide definitely recommends that you consult with an estate planning attorney
Okay.
to determine if trusts are right for your situation and to make sure that everything is set up correctly.
Yeah. It's always best to seek professional guidance
Yeah,
when you're dealing with these complex legal matters.
absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into estate planning.
We have.
It can feel like kind of a daunting task, but breaking it down into these three key areas, wills, power of attorney, and trusts, makes it seem much more manageable.
It does.
Now, before we move on, I want to circle back to something we touched on a little bit earlier,
Okay.
which is the importance of finding purpose and meaning in retirement.
Yes.
The guide focuses a lot on the financial planning, which is crucial,
Yes.
but it also emphasizes that retirement isn't just about the numbers.
Right.
It's about living a fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
So while we've been diligently, going over all these financial pitfalls and strategies,
Yeah.
we also need to remember that retirement is about more than just money. It's about living a life that feels, rich and meaningful.
It is.
So what are some ways that people can cultivate that sense of purpose and fulfillment in retirement?
Well, the possibilities are pretty much endless.
Yeah.
Retirement can be a time to explore new hobbies, reconnect with old friends, volunteer in your community. You can even start a whole new career.
Right.
It's about discovering what truly lights you up
Yeah.
and making those activities a priority in your retirement years.
It's like having a blank canvas and you can paint whatever masterpiece you want.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the importance of social connections.
Yeah.
Staying connected with friends and family, building new relationships, engaging in activities that bring you together. Those are all crucial for your overall well-being.
It's about creating that supportive network and having people to share your experiences with both the joys and the challenges.
Exactly. So as you're diligently working on your financial plan and, ticking off those boxes, don't forget to invest in your social and emotional well-being as well.
That's such an important reminder.
It is.
Retirement isn't just about financial security. It's about living a life that feels rich and meaningful in every aspect. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into retirement pitfalls
Yeah.
and avoidance guide.
We have.
We've explored these 8 common pitfalls and a whole range of strategies to help you navigate those challenges and create a retirement that feels both secure and fulfilling.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It has.
This guide truly is a treasure trove of practical advice.
Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I would love to hear your thoughts.
Okay.
What stood out to you the most from this guide?
That's a great question.
What are some of the key takeaways that you think our listeners should keep in mind?
If I had to choose one, it would be the importance of taking action.
Okay.
Don't let procrastination or fear hold you back. Start planning today, even if it's just small steps.
Small steps can lead to big results over time,
They can.
and you don't have to do it alone.
No, absolutely not. There are so many resources available to help you every step of the way.
Financial advisors, retirement calculators, online resources, even just talking to friends and family who've already gone through this journey.
Yeah.
There's a wealth of information and support out there.
There is.
And as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Mm-hmm.
I want to leave our listener with one final thought. Retirement is not an end. It's a beginning.
It is.
It's a new chapter filled with possibilities and opportunities.
Embrace this next phase of your life with enthusiasm and a sense of adventure.
Plan wisely, stay informed, and most importantly, enjoy the journey. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're wrapping up our exploration of retirement pitfalls, an avoidance guide. And I got to say, this has been one of my favorite deep dives yet.
I agree. This guide is just packed with practical advice.
It's like a roadmap for anyone who wants to actually, make those retirement dreams a reality.
Mm-hmm.
Before we dive into any final thoughts or takeaways, I want to kind of circle back to one of the pitfalls that really stood out to me, which is making emotional decisions instead of financial ones.
Oh, yeah. That's such a crucial one. It's so easy to let those emotions get the best of you,
Right.
especially when you're facing such a big life transition.
The guide uses that great example of claiming Social Security benefits.
Yeah.
It can be so tempting to take that money as soon as you're eligible.
Right.
But, delaying those benefits, even for a few years, can really significantly increase your monthly payments.
It's a powerful reminder that patience can pay off in the long run.
Yeah.
Those delayed benefits can make a huge difference in your overall financial security, especially if you're planning for a long and healthy retirement.
It's like giving yourself a raise just for being patient.
Exactly.
But I think even beyond specific decisions like when to claim benefits, the guide really emphasizes the importance of having a solid financial plan in place.
It's like having a blueprint for your retirement,
Mm-hmm.
outlining, your goals, your income sources, your expenses, your investment strategy.
Right.
Having that plan can help you stay on track and, make informed decisions even when emotions are running high.
It's like a compass to guide you through those uncharted waters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about creating the plan. It's about reviewing it and updating it. Right.
Absolutely.
Because, life throws curveballs, and your financial plan needs to be flexible enough to adapt.
Exactly. Your needs and goals might change over time, and so your financial plan should evolve along with you.
Right.
Now, while financial planning is crucial for a secure retirement,
Mm-hmm.
there's another aspect I think that's equally important but often gets overlooked.
You're talking about the non-financial side of retirement.
Exactly.
The guide touches on this briefly, but I'd love to kind of explore it further.
It's all about finding purpose and meaning in this new chapter of your life.
Right.
It's not just about, having enough money to pay the bills. It's about having a reason to get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
Something that gives you a sense of fulfillment and joy.
So while we've been, diligently exploring all these financial pitfalls and strategies,
Yeah.
we also need to remember that retirement is about more than just money. It's about living a life that feels, rich and meaningful.
Absolutely.
So what are some ways that people can kind of cultivate that sense of purpose and fulfillment in retirement?
Well, the possibilities are pretty much endless. Retirement can be a time to explore new hobbies, reconnect with old friends, volunteer in your community. You could even start a whole new career.
Yeah.
It's about, discovering what truly lights you up and making those activities a priority.
It's like having a blank canvas and the freedom to paint, whatever masterpiece you envision.
And don't underestimate the power of social connections.
Yeah.
Staying connected with friends and family, building new relationships, engaging in activities that bring you together. All of those are so vital for your overall well-being.
Yeah, it's about building a community that enriches your life and gives you a sense of belonging.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're meticulously, crafting that financial plan, don't forget to invest in those social and emotional aspects of retirement as well.
Absolutely. Nurture those relationships, pursue those passions, and create a retirement that feels fulfilling in every aspect.
Well said. We've covered so much ground in this deep dive into retirement pitfalls. An avoidance guide.
We have.
We've explored those 8 common pitfalls, from relying on a single income source and neglecting taxes to underestimating healthcare costs and, failing to adapt our budgets.
Mm-hmm.
We've delved into the importance of mindful investing, managing market volatility, and even tackled that often dreaded topic of estate planning.
It's been a whirlwind of information.
It has.
But hopefully it's been empowering, too.
Yeah.
The key takeaway here is that you have the power to shape your retirement.
Mm-hmm.
By being proactive, planning ahead, and making informed decisions, you can really increase your chances of a secure and fulfilling retirement.
And you don't have to do it alone.
No, absolutely not.
There are resources available to help you every step of the way. Financial advisors, retirement calculators, online communities, even just trusted friends and family who have already navigated this journey.
Exactly. Reach out, seek guidance, build a support system that empowers you to make the best choices for your unique situation.
So as we wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought-provoking question to ponder.
Okay.
What does a truly fulfilling retirement look like to you? What are those activities, those connections, those experiences that will bring you joy and purpose in this next chapter of your life?
Take some time to reflect on those questions and vision your ideal retirement and, start taking steps today to make that vision a reality.
Beautifully said. And remember, retirement is not an end. It's a beginning.
It is.
Embrace this next phase of your life with enthusiasm, curiosity, and a sense of adventure.
Plan wisely, stay informed, and most importantly, enjoy the journey.
That's a wrap on this episode of The Deep Dive. We'll be back next week with another deep dive into a fascinating topic. Until then, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep living your best life.